Good evening, my name is Rose Blaze and this is the live book show. This evening I have with me a really auspicious guest who's written her book, Defying Expectations. I have with me Gifty Edlia. How are you, Gifty?
I'm very well. Lovely to meet you, and thank you for having me here.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
Gifty, as we always start, we begin by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to share a bit from the book. As you said, I'm Gifty Edlia. I was born in the Gold Coast. I like a little teaser and ask people, where do you think the Gold Coast is? But since independence, it's been known as Ghana. I came to the UK age 11. Went to secondary school here, studied law at university, became a barrister, worked in different sectors at the bar for barristers, went into law centers and local government. I'm retired now, but I've been qualified as a lawyer 41 years now, out of which I worked 38 years. I've got two boys, one who's living in Paris at the moment. The other one is a doctor who's been struggling with COVID at the hospital, saving patients. So it's my husband and I at home. And yes, I get involved in all kinds of community.
Which we'll talk about a little bit later.
We'll talk about a little bit, but that's me, Rose. Yes.
No, that's wonderful. Now, Gifty, Defying Expectations. Tell us why you titled the book that.
Thank you. Yes, as I got towards the end, I said, no, I need a title. And as we'll talk about, I had an issue at school when my housemistress tried to discourage me, and on my journey through my training, others tried to discourage me as a Black woman going into law. So Defying Expectations is that I defied their expectations. But what is interesting about Defying Expectations, the extraordinary journey of a Black woman, is I did a short list of about 5 and asked my closest and dearest friends of the 5, which one they feel really describes me and would be. And it's interesting that those who really know me well, they're all coming up with like the Defying Expectations.
Yes, they liked it.
Yeah.
And I can
so that's
see
the interesting,
why. And I can see why, Gifty, because, you know, your career ideally started in the higher echelons and it stayed there for quite some time. So you must have been defying a lot of expectations in that time. I mean, 38 years of practice is a long time. So well done to you.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, so another question I have here is, throughout the book when I was reading, you speak a lot about music. You mentioned music a lot. I was singing along to some of the tunes because I knew them. So tell us how music has impacted your journey.
Oh, do you know, Rose, even now, if I'm working and it's not like a serious exam, I need music in the background to read. So yes, I absolutely love music. I had an amazing teenage years, partying with my friends. Music has been an important part. So yes, at the beginning of the story, I had to start with one of my favorite artists, Jimmy Cliff. You can get it if you really want.
You can get it if you really want. I just started singing. Yes. And again, it made me feel so inspired.
Aww.
Again, you're defying expectations. I just felt so inspired singing it. Okay, so studying for a law degree. Wow. So tell us, and about what personality traits you felt enabled you to achieve your goals.
Okay.
Personality traits.
Yes, I would
characteristics?
start with determination.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. Determination.
Yeah.
The matriarch in the family, bless her soul, my maternal grandmother, high expectations
Who
of
was
her
a
children.
headmistress?
She was a headmistress.
Wow. And her husband.
And her husband, both of them.
Wow.
Very unusual for someone of her generation to have had dedication to
Both
that
of them,
level.
yes,
so I really admire her for that. But her so you're brought up with that confidence and goals. You don't dwell too much on your successes to spoil you. It's like, okay,
That's
well
right.
done, what next?
I hear that.
So that determination and the genuine interest in that profession.
In law.
I had that eureka moment of, I want to be a barrister.
Why? Why a barrister? Let's get into it.
Maybe I liked to argue when I was young.
And win, probably.
Well, my aunts will have a different story. When you get into trouble, Gifty, you don't come and call me. I think I loved reading. I loved historical facts, retaining, historical information.
At 12?
Yeah. Yes.
You were 12 years old.
I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I was 12 years old. I had my eureka moment that I want to be a lawyer. And then the program, Crown Court, just kind of crystallized it because I then saw them play acting. It's like, I want to represent those people.
That. Yes, that is fantastic.
Yes. So determination, interest, and a genuine.
Yeah. And I mean, what I will say is that your book has so much content, so much information. I don't want to give away half of the story. So what I've decided to do is pick out some nuggets to speak about.
That's great.
So I picked out some bits and pieces for us to talk about. And again, you can take this anywhere you like, because there's all the more to be read. Absolutely. So viewers, you have so much to read in this book, and it's such interesting content. And if it's about inspiration for a young man or even a young woman wanting to, what can I be? What can I become? Defying Expectations is definitely a book to read, because it talks all about, a woman's journey, forging forward, demonstrating characteristics, moods, music, all sorts to achieve your goals and, what it is that you want to do. So I was so happy. I was so glad to have had the opportunity to read it.
Absolutely, yes.
So let's talk about your graduation day.
Yes.
And you're at is it the Royal Albert Hall? The Queen Mother presiding?
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
What did that feel like?
Well, as you said, can you imagine, 12 years old, you've been mocked at school as no way, little black girls don't become barristers, they're white men, middle-aged, middle class. Yes, absolutely. And roll on a few years, bright, sunny afternoon, summer. Your grandmother, your mother, the two people who have stood by you and encouraged you. My husband, who was my partner then, we were not married then, drove us to Royal Albert Hall, and there you were. All the graduation robes on. Queen Mother is there to receive you all. Each graduate.
This is so lovely, and
that was an incredible moment.
It really was.
Yeah, I had defied expectations then. Yes.
Yes. Okay. You spoke a lot about friends at university, because I know that once you'd qualified, you went to you were accepted in the Temple Inn of the Bath.
Yes.
And I know I could ask you to explain that a little bit, and I will do. And I know that Lincoln Inn was very popular because there was there was a significant number of black and ethnic minority lawyers, training lawyers there.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the bar, just so our audience has a little bit of an understanding of what that is.
Yes.
What is that?
For barristers, it's a bit like a club.
Right.
There are 4 of them that you choose which one you want to go to. So we've got Gray's Inn, we've got Lincoln's Inn that you've mentioned, we've got Inner Temple and Middle Temple. And Lincoln's and Gray's Inn are nearer Chancery Lane. Right. And then Fleet Street End, you've got the other 2, Inner Temple and Middle. Right. And I'm a member of Inner Temple. That's the one I chose. As I said, it's like a club. You choose which one. But it's an important, it's a compulsory part of your profession as a barrister. You have to belong.
Right.
But whilst training, our law school, this is post-university, you then do the practical training.
Right.
Learning how to go to court.
They used to call that
represent.
Articles years ago.
For solicitors,
Oh, for
yeah.
solicitors,
For
okay.
barristers, we were pupillage, yes, yeah. So yes, I belong to Inner Temple.
Yeah.
But ironically, as students, we all felt that Lincoln's Inn was the more
The
very
fun
kind of
place.
casual, fun,
Yeah.
laid back
Okay.
place to go to.
Wow.
So the Black students, we all used to gravitate at the bar there and had a wonderful time and many, many long friendships. You know, a lot of my friends who returned to the Caribbean to practice, that is where we all met. Yeah.
There are two things that come to mind as you say that. One is something very funny, and the other is about class.
Yes.
So obviously you cross social classes at this point because, you know, working class, middle class, so what is considered a very upper class profession. So even in terms of your practical day-to-day experience and lifestyle will have changed.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. And just so I don't forget the joke of wondering whether you should drive your car down the steps of one of the houses or whatever to get away. Explain the story, one and then the other.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That made me laugh. I was belly rolling at
that. The class thing you talk about, we are required as barristers to have dinners. It's a compulsory part of your training. I believe it's something like 15 dinners before you start practicing as a barrister.
Wow.
So you had to, if you've ever been, you know, for those who may have gone to boarding school or, you know, grand events, you got this massive hall with all the tables and chairs laid out and very senior judges and then the students and then the qualified barristers. And you had to learn, if you haven't done it before, dining etiquette. Lots of wine flowing.
So much emphasis on this dinner.
So much emphasis on class and how you carry yourself and you know the whole. So, but yes, I learned to drink there because you know you had to partake in the wine. Yes, you had to drink, and the port that followed.
Wow.
Afterwards, but what you're talking about in terms of my car now, when we qualify as barristers, it's called, they say you're called to the bar. So the night of the call to the bar is another exciting time in our, you know, career journey. It's a great time. You know, families come from overseas for some of them. And of course, I was taking the two women in my life who had really supported me all the way, mother and grandmother again. I drove my little Mini, parked on the wrong side of the temple. And then after all the wonderful ceremony and everything done, my car had been locked in and I couldn't get it out. And
two women stranded in Temple.
It was stranded in the Temple.
In Fleet Street.
And I met this gentleman and I thought he's got to be a barrister here. He will help me find a caretaker. And I asked, excuse me, please, do you work here? He just looked at me. I mean, this is one of the most senior judges in the United Kingdom. QC. And I'm casually asking him, QC. You know, excuse me, do you work here? He said,
do you work here?
I've just seen you being called to the bar in the Temple. I'm Justice Lord.
And you thought,
I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me, Rose, my embarrassment. But he led me to the car. He was so kind.
To help you.
He wanted to help me. He did. I didn't want to put it in the book, but he was literally offering to drive it himself down the steps.
Because it was a debate about should you really be allowed to drive your car down walking steps? And I was just
literally offering, and the other caretaker, the nice caretaker from the other part of the building, it wasn't his side. He was saying, "Sir, I really don't think I would do that." And I'm thinking, why are you spoiling it for me?
Yeah, you could have got out.
I could have got out.
Yeah.
No, my mother said, you didn't put that in the book, Gifty. You're not ashamed. You know?
No, I thought, you know what? That kind of made what was a very lofty. A lot of the entries are very lofty, so that kind of brought it down.
That we're human,
that
and we get it wrong.
Yeah, and even barristers understand practicalities. It's not all about trying to be clever with words or trying to be, philosophical and everything else. Sometimes it's just about getting a car out of a bad scrape.
It's just when you got a judge willing to help you with that,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So let's move on then to, because you spent some time trying to find an initial position.
Yes.
Or one that you certainly wanted.
Yes.
And eventually you had one.
I did. Yeah.
And then I'm jumping forward here because there's so much to get through.
I know. Yes.
You win your first case.
Yes.
How did that feel?
Wonderful. Defying expectations. Yes, part of our training is first 6 months of following a qualified barrister. So you're an apprentice. You don't get up on your own.
Yeah.
So the second 6 months, when you get your first case and you're on your own, going off to that court. No senior to go with, and you're going to present.
But they're waiting for you to come back.
And they're waiting for you to come back.
Did she win it? Did she lose it?
I over-prepared. They're all looking at me and thinking, what is she doing? It's only a motoring offense. And they literally told me that you don't win motoring cases, but I was determined.
You were determined.
And I got to Stratford and I went to look at the site, and then I got into court. I was probably giving evidence myself.
Yeah. Determination, isn't it?
Determination. And I got my client off, and it was so serious that one of it may have been a kind of medium type, you drove on the wrong side. But the other was when the police officer approached him, he allegedly pushed, and that's assault. And I could earn him, if not immediate custodial, a suspended.
Suspended.
So whilst it may seem the face of him motoring, it's quite serious for the client.
But then you went on to win the next.
Yeah.
And they probably thought, we've got a good one here.
Well, I have to say, I was really enjoying, coming back in and good outcomes. I have to say, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it must have given you so much confidence.
Yeah, it does.
Such a confidence boost.
It does.
So I know you then, and I don't know whether it's in the same role. I think it might have been the following role where you meet Angelica, who became a mentor. Talk to us a little bit about her and, just going to work with her.
Yeah, in fact, that was, she was the person I was training under at the time.
That's right.
Yes, once we've got through the academic stage and courted a bar, we need to have a highly experienced barrister, to train us in advocacy in court. And I went to 3 different chambers. The first one, no women here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, thank you very much. The discrimination continues.
Was that kind of was it an undercurrent thing? Was it something that was quite overt?
Oh, it was very overt.
No.
The clerk, we might call in an office, the secretary or the admin person came over and said to me, we have no women in this practice, So that's telling me you're not coming here.
Wow.
The second one,
Boys Club.
beat about the bush, and send me to somebody else. So I knew I wasn't wanted.
Yeah.
And then I went to Angelica's chambers and she took me on and she was a bundle of fun to work with.
Oh, that's so cool.
Very experienced. But told me about, she was a white barrister, discrimination against women. So in her case, it was how women were not getting the right cases and appreciated. And but yes. And the chambers was opened by the first woman in the UK. Up until then was men who were setting up the practice. So it was a privilege to be in a kind of a trailblazer. Yes, to be with it.
Okay, so I've got so there was an issue here about race and gender.
Yes, yeah.
And again, this has no particular footing. There's no particular order of things to talk about today. Yeah. But I know that there was an issue with race and gender. So talk to us a little bit about what that was about.
Yeah. Well, I think, for me, the race and gender has been right from school, the decision to become a barrister and being dissuaded, being discouraged by school because, you know, you're black and you're a woman.
Yeah.
Even when I was doing my A-levels to get me into university, it was the same thing. Goodness, you're going to face double prejudice. You're black, you're a woman.
Yes.
And you get to the bar, and in the book, I talk about the majority of my friends from Africa, Caribbean, and Asia went back home because there was no place for them to practice here in terms of the race element.
Yeah.
So there are just very few of us at the bar. And you stand out, you know, you carry double the prejudice, you know, as a black person and a woman. So you begin to see it play itself out, and you think, well, is this an environment I want to be? I've done the struggling, I've done the defying the expectations. I want to go off and look for something more, you know. So
but you didn't.
I went off, you know, to do masters, and then from there went into law centers where
that's right.
equalities was far more, you know, accepting and recognized, and you felt more welcome.
So is this when you went to Newham?
So I went to Kensington Law Centre.
Kensington Law Centre, yes.
Kensington, a fantastic place. Then Camden Law Centre, so community-based practice as a barrister.
And again, you know, we talk about race and gender. We revisit class again. Because in Kensington and Chelsea, I can imagine, you know, that again was seen as very affluent, that was seen as very... How did you fit in there?
Very well. It's an amazing authority. I actually left Newham, going to Kensington and Chelsea, and had the jokes about, so you're going to wear evening dresses to work? They're so posh.
We used to say lampshades on the desk.
Well, there you are. But I couldn't have gone to a more down-to-earth authority.
Really?
In fact, a professor at LSE describes them as conservatives with a social conscience.
Yeah, okay.
Very much involved in terms of the councillors there, caring for the community, to have the leader of the council and the councillor who worked closely with me in relation to my department, who wears bow tie, doesn't even wear ordinary tie, watching the two of them fighting for carnival, to retain carnival.
That was the other thing I was going to talk
to you about. That should give you an example of the kind of conservatives they are.
Because that's what I was going to come on to next. Tell us about
They are very involved in the community. And going into interview and talking about the affluent, they are quick to tell me that no, they have got areas of poverty that they want to work on to bring up. So please don't come to us thinking they were doing initiatives, and you'll see people from North Kensington area, Labrador Grove area, come to meetings, and you know, I just laugh when I hear them. Do you know, if I wasn't a Labour voter, I would vote for you, you know, hearing black people in the community, or you know, Hispanics, and they were very, very much appreciated, that they really Kensington councillors across the board cared for the community. And in North Kensington was about community safety. You know, when we started having incidents with, you know, some murders and, you know, the knifing, they were so concerned that they wanted to work with a kind of a committee to improve public safety, to pump some more money into more stewards to supplement the police. So they work closely. And even when the GLA, Greater London Authority, wanted to move Carnival to Hyde Park so it's contained, they fought for it.
Good.
You know, and it's all about, you know, Carnival, Trinidad, you know, it's got to be on the streets, it's a street party.
But this was because a community age-old thing.
It was.
You know, and it truly, and this is where it started, so it should ideally stay. So
that's exactly the argument.
So wonderful.
And they fought for it. The leader and other white men fighting. It's a community, it's a culture.
In dark glasses at times.
No, they openly do. I mean, my cabinet member will fill my office with about 100 photographs from Carnival.
Excellent. No, that's so excellent.
He'd take it himself.
And this is what we need in terms of breaking down the barriers, you know, so that's fantastic.
Definitely.
Now, the other thing that, you know, I actually felt on your part to be quite an intimate piece of work around the project working. You know, you did a lot of work with old
Yes,
trusts
yes,
that, in a sense, had kind of fallen by the wayside,
yes,
but you'd revamped them.
yes.
You'd looked, you know, you'd reviewed their mission statements. You were able to secure
Yes,
funding
yes.
for them so that they could continue to
Wow.
occupy within the local, you know, within, you know, to serve the needs of the local people. So I thought that was a really nice piece of intimate work that you
yes,
set aside to do.
yes,
To
yes,
save,
thank
you know,
Yeah.
like I said, some of the
And do you know what's so important about that? Thank
Yeah.
you for picking that up.
that's okay.
You know, there were people from part of our borough, you know, like they may have come from North Kensington, from Labrador Grove area, single parent, don't have enough money within the family, have worked to go to university and struggling to get financial support.
Yeah.
And those funds, as you've said,
Yeah.
that people who died centuries ago have left to the council to help people, you know, living in poverty, help those students, you know, we're able to give them grants, benevolent funds, sitting there and so it was so useful. And homeless, you know, organization, we were able, those who had left it for homeless people.
Yeah, you know.
So thank you for picking that up, because that was so important.
Yeah, because when I think of the old workhouses and, you know, those philanthropists.
Yes.
Who would, you know, leave large donations and, you know, which has, you know, invested. So even today, with the proper care and due diligence, they're able to still exist.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was so lovely, such a quaint thing to do.
No.
And then, okay, so moving steadily back to today, transformational agenda. So this was Hackney Council reconstructing during the time of the Olympics. So talk to us about your involvement with that whole project.
Yeah, no, that's a fabulous question, because as you can see from my journey, I have loved transformation agenda, you know, in terms of development of Docklands and Newham and the Holland Park School and, you know, Chelsea Academy in Kensington. So
you've done a bit of that.
Getting to Hackney and being part of the Olympics, and not just the fun side of Olympics, but the legacy that came out of it. You know, the housing, development of Hackney Central, Stratford Station,
sports, different elements of sport and travel.
Travel, everything coming together, housing. People can live at the Olympic Village now as a home, you know, so that was an amazing project, as you said, that we could help with the fun side of being part of the 2012 Olympic. And that was really great, because apart from music, sports, take me to the Olympics, take me to the athletics any day, I'll be happy.
You know what was lovely? You had your hands in so many different pies. And then, you know, veering more to the political, you got involved in the elections in Hackney. So talk to us, because you felt quite strongly about the way in which, I don't know whether it was the management of the elections or whatever, but tell us what about the elections in Hackney that had you, you know, sort of really.
Again, you know, I've loved politics. I've studied politics. I don't want to be a politician, but I love working around the governance and the constitution. And so things like elections are very dear to my heart, and I've worked on it in the previous two authorities, Newham, Kensington. And we had it in Hackney. But I think the key thing you've picked up in the book is the challenge around the elections in Hackney. We have got high profile politicians in the shape of Diane Abbott, Meg Hillier, Jules Pipe, the mayor. So you couldn't have been in a much more, you know, public-facing environment, and always needed to get. But there had been so many changes. And elections becoming even more complex. Gone were the days where you had single elections. You were having dual elections. And then having triple elections. That brings its own challenges. Those who are listening to the American elections at the moment, I say, well, I hope.
Who do you think's going to win?
They
say Biden's got edging a little bit forward, further forward with Arizona and everything else uncounted.
Who knows?
And then I know that Trump is asking for them to stop.
For recounts and and all sorts.
What a nightmare.
But my sympathy, it's for those doing the counts, because I've been there. I've had an election where the returning officer and myself as deputy, we've been on our feet for 2 days, 48 hours.
Well, you see, this is
the
how awful.
So that's what I've shared in the book. It's been kind of my therapy.
Yeah. And
but explaining to the public what the challenges are like.
Yes.
And explaining to the colleagues I've left behind what those challenges, can be like and how you can do your best to. But it's all playing out in the American one. People can see how long it's taken since the voting, and they're still counting.
Yeah, definitely.
Very
and
complex.
Just going back to you talking about things that compound and really complicates elections.
Yeah.
Hackney, for example, has two social representation now. We have the gentrified area, and you have the far social left still.
Yeah.
So there was all of these, and in terms of manifestos, what they're wanting and what they're fighting for.
Yes.
So I'll leave that to them. Shall I? Okay. Okay. So you did some work with the Black and ethnic minority. How can I say? Gosh, I don't even know what to call it. With BAME.
Yes.
Tell us about your work with BAME. What has that been like? How has this transpired? Not transpired. How can I say? How has this grown?
Yeah.
Yes. How has BAME grown?
It's
representative for people of color.
It's important when you started your journey being defined not by your name, a given name by our parents. Yeah. That's how we want to be known. Right. Who are you? Nice to meet you. But you've been defined by your color. Yeah. You're thinking, that's not material to me. So throughout my childhood, at sixth form college, at the mere age of 16, we'd already formed the Black Student Society. Wow. At uni, encouraging people to set. So that has kind of carried me through that. We need to continue to grow our own support. And, throughout my work, yes, I've supported staff and people I've mentored across all cultures and colors and nationalities. Yeah. But supporting young people aspiring to become lawyers through the BLD Foundation was so important. Exposing them to the world of law. My friend Dabo Nwazu, who set up the Black Lawyers Foundation, Black Lawyers Directory Foundation, was very keen to get young people into the city because we didn't get a look in. Right. The few Black lawyers who were successful in setting up their practice were kind of around the local areas. They couldn't get into city firms. And she did amazing. So that's how I got involved with her and doing that. And then
are you still doing work with her? Are you still supporting?
At the moment, I'm working on other projects that we'll talk about. But that was extremely rewarding to get a lot of young people into city law firms.
Now you're talking about getting people into city law firms, so just basically supporting the young lawyer as now a matured lawyer. There came the time when there were budgetary restraints, and there had to be choices made about retaining work, not retaining work, and supporting those coming up. So talk to us a little bit about that, your choices around that.
No, you're absolutely right. As the years went on, from kind of late 2004, 5, 6, public service started facing severe cuts. So we've had a long history of the public sector, local government, annual quite steep cuts going on, and you see your department shrinking. I can go from a legal department of 150 to suddenly 60, 70 only.
Wow.
And I've seen that when I worked in a previous authority where suddenly it's like, why do you need a deputy? I've seen that elsewhere, and thankfully on those occasions, at least they were senior in terms of my current age now, where they could happily, kind of ease out of the work environment. But I was blessed to be a very young deputy by this time, they're all under 50. And I knew sooner or later the question would be, do you need those deputies? Because if you're much loved in the workplace, nobody wants to release you.
And efficient.
Well, I played my role, I did my bit, but I was very much valued and was very happy then, had great boss and great politicians who appreciated my work. So yes, I had to suddenly go and coax them gently and say, you do know my budget, because we have to cut our own, we have to exemplify our own cuts. They don't tell you, they just say, this is what you need 8%, 10%,
take it away.
So I had to go and, do the rounds. My boss, chief exec, then the mayor, then the deputy mayor. You do know that, when you see my illustrations, I've put my poster because it's just got to happen. I'm 60 and it's like.
I didn't mean you.
So I said, yes, when you were not looking, I grew up and I'm 60, I can go, You've got to. So I did my work in terms of really getting them to understand that it made sense for me to move on and allow my younger deputies to step up.
Well done.
And we worked on it and it worked. And
well done you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't stop there. I'm fanning. You don't stop there. The presidential role of access.
Yeah.
Tell us what the acronym means and what this is that you are doing.
Okay, that was in my kind of mid-career when I was at Kensington. Directors of Law and Local Government, we had our own professional association, professional body. So in 2004, we do a year. I had the privilege of being elected by them as president of the association.
16 years.
The first
you
black
don't look
woman.
a day over 24. 16 years ago. And this is towards the end of her career. Very scary. I'm fanning again.
Oh dear, I don't know. So yes, it was an honor to become their president. I was the first black woman and only the third woman in its history. And that was an amazing year working with, and I made sure that I was committed to them. We cover England and Wales, the authority.
Wow.
So I made sure I went to
region.
every branch meeting in England and Wales just to show appreciation that, I wasn't going to be a London-based president who was never seen. And the warm welcome, in every city.
Wow.
So
not only in work, in retirement, you're just as committed as ever. That work ethic remains the same. There's no compromise.
You must
so you're now in retirement.
Yes.
So volunteering, I understand you did some of that.
Yes, I am. I came. I retired in 2016, and I had to fulfill a bucket list first.
After 38 years.
I had to fulfill a bucket list first, Rose.
Wow.
That Caribbean cruise had to take place first, which was amazing the summer.
Nice.
And then all that sunshine in me led nicely into Antarctica in December. Yes. I know. My friends all think, she's lost the plot by this time. Who spends a lot of money to go to Antarctica?
Should I say what birthday that was, or should I leave it
that was the 61st birthday.
Her 61st birthday. She went to Antarctica.
Yeah.
61st birthday. We don't even know. Well, I might be able to assume how old you are now, but can you honestly? You look fantastic for your age.
And what was so nice, Rose?
You want to write about that?
What was so nice? That matriarch who was behind me encouraging that grandmother died when I was preparing for my 60th birthday. So I couldn't have that fun. But she allowed me to have a 63rd. So that was,
That's wonderful.
That was. So, yes, having got those two out of my system, the bucket list, as you quite rightly said, I got into my volunteering role.
Yes.
So
you forgot to mention the North Pole.
Yeah, well,
you went there too.
This was this December, just in time for lockdown from March,
Excellent.
I did the North Pole. I thought, I've done the South, so I've just got to go up north now. So, yes, I did the Arctic Circle this December. Yeah.
You have such
the Northern Lights.
The Northern Lights, of course. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd fancy a hotel in an igloo. I'm not sure about all of that, but
amazing.
It sounds interesting, sounds interesting.
A beautiful concert in the Arctic Circle Cathedral. All the ice outside and your midnight concert.
That sounds wonderful. It sounds like a midnight candlelit massive Christmas or something.
After you've been slipping and sliding on the snow to get inside the cathedral.
No thanks. Well, I'd probably injure myself.
No.
But listen, it's been so wonderful, Gifty, interviewing you this evening.
Thank you.
You've got such an interesting life story. Your memoirs, Defying Expectations.
Yeah.
Listen, this book was such an interesting read, viewers. There were so many interesting things to read about. This woman has definitely defied expectations. She's a good example and mentor to us all. Gifty, thank you for attending this evening. It was wonderful having you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Rose.
It's
It's been
wonderful to have
amazing.
you here, Gifty.